If you're joining on Zoom, please use the raise hand feature to ask a question. As a courtesy, please silence your cell phones. And note, recording this press conference on your phone and camera is not allowed, nor is flash photography. We're joined now by Auburn student athletes Janai Broom, Denver Jones, and Chad Baker-Mazzara. At this time, we will take questions for the student athletes. Please raise your hand and we'll bring you a microphone. And please direct your question to a specific student athlete. Thank you.
Check.
Any questions? Second row on the left, please.
Therese Walker from the Associated Press. For each of you, how different is it from a year ago? You're playing on, getting ready to play on a Thursday. You didn't play on Sunday. Is that extra day? I mean, the focus now is just simply go and take care of the business at hand. Past is over with.
Janai.
For sure, like you said, we can't control the SEC tournament. We can't control the regular season anymore. That stuff don't matter. We're going to go home now. Everybody is 0-0, so we're just looking to take it one game at a time and eventually get to 6.
Kind of what Janai said. I feel like we are a lot motivated now as far as just taking it one game at a time. I know we play tomorrow, and then obviously we trying to win that game and then get to Sunday.
Chad.
Saturday. Sorry about that.
I feel like us not playing on Sunday is a little extra motivation for the guys because we know we wanted to be there, but, we didn't take care of our business. So now that we're here, we'll be able to, take care of our business. And, yeah, I feel like the guys are excited to play.
Fourth row on the right.
Tony Reese, WTV. Janai, you've pretty much picked up every All-American first team. Just kind of talk about your newest accolades today and kind of what that means for your season so far.
First off, all glory to God for, allowing me to play the game I love. I want to thank my teammates and coaches and, the organization for, developing me and, believing in me and putting me in those situations to succeed and help my team win. But ultimately, it's an honor, to be recognized as one of the best players in the country. And, yeah.
Fourth row on the left.
Cameron Drummond with the Lexington Herald Leader. Janai, another question for you. Obviously, you're back in Kentucky where things kind of began for you at Morehead State. What do you remember about those 2 years of your career, and where do you think you've evolved the most as a college basketball player from then to now?
Shout out Morehead State, you know what I'm saying? But I think those 2 years of my college career has helped me become who I am. It allowed me to find myself, and it allowed me to experience, kind of, I don't know how to say it, like experiencing being one of the best players on the court and kind of handling the double teams and stuff like that. So now, and when I'm at that point in my career now, I kind of know how to handle it a little better.
Second row on the right, please.
Hey, Denver, Ben Baby with ESPN. Is there any extra pressure being a 1 seed the first time y'all have been a 1 seed under Bruce? I mean, what's that like, having that expectation, knowing you're the top on this side of the draw, and kind of how do you approach that going into the tournament?
I don't really look at it as extra pressure, but I just know that we end up losing that SEC tournament. We end up losing 3 of our last 4 games, so I feel like we just a little extra motivated going into March Madness. And it might be a little pressure just because we're the 1 seed, and this is the first time it had happened in Auburn history. But as far as I'm concerned, we just focus one game at a time, and we just trying to be determined to win this tournament.
Fourth row on the right, please.
We talk about this time last year, y'all were in Spokane, now being in Lexington, already being in a rep, a place y'all have had success so far this season. Just kind of what does that mean kind of coming into this? I know, what are y'all most looking forward to, and how do y'all feel coming into this season?
I feel like coming from our last performance out here, I feel like, we're comfortable here. We had a great game as a team, and, being able to be back here playing, March Madness is just, I feel like something really good for us, knowing that, we was able to shoot the ball well out here. So you just probably keep that rhythm from the last game here.
Denver, do you want to add anything to that? You're good. Next question. Second row on the left there.
Hey, Trey Wallace from Outkick. for all of you guys, Bruce Pearl talked last weekend about, okay, we got to flush the last 3 out of 4 losses heading into the NCAA tournament. So over the last couple of days, what has practice been like? What has Coach Pearl been like for you guys? Just trying to, okay, let's forget what happened in the past year. Let's move forward. It's a new season now.
Janai, let's start with you.
Practice has been a little bit ramped up. We had an extra day of rest. We didn't play on Sunday, so we were kind of able to work on ourselves and kind of try to find our identity again. We was named the number 1 overall seed in March Madness. So with those 3-4 losses we've had at the end of the season, what our body of work still allowed us to be in the position we are now. So, like I said, we're just going to try to work on ourselves and try to win, take it one game at a time.
Denver?
I just feel like we just can't dwell on what happened in the past, basically. And we come into this tournament at 0-0. You know what I'm saying? Just time to lock in. And I feel like practice, obviously it's been a little bit more of a sense of urgency just because it's a lot of our guys last year. So it's a different level of locking in, worked on things in practice that got us to this point. And I feel like that was the most important thing.
Chad?
Yeah. Basically on what Denver says, most of our guys last year, so, we don't want to go out sad. We're trying to, make the best out of this opportunity. So, lately we've been, extra locked in and just taking care of our business for.
Second row here on the left.
Therese Walker, Associated Press again. With Alabama State playing last night, did you all watch that live, watch it today, see highlights? And what's the familiarity with Alabama State? Their coach used to be with the Tigers, but it's been a bit. So how different, I guess, is Alabama State and HBCU in the SWAC versus Auburn, which is an SEC program, and, the number 1 seed in this tournament?
Chad, can we start with you?
We played them last year, and they had a pretty good team. So we just, can't take nobody from granted in this tournament. It's March, so anybody can really beat anybody if you don't come focused and locked in and take people for granted. So we just got to make sure, we come in tomorrow and just take care of our business.
Kind of what Chad said. We played them last year, so we know just how good of a team they are. Just like we said, we just can't take any team for granted. We know that they're gonna come out here and we're just gonna get their best basketball. So we just gotta be prepared for that and just be ready to play basketball.
Janai?
Yes, we did watch them live last night. Was in the team room watching the game. Crazy ending, and then after that we kind of started scouting them and watching film on them, and kind of getting prepared on how we want to guard them and kind of their tendencies.
Second row on the right.
Janai, Ben Baby with ESPN again. What's been probably the biggest message as y'all transition from the SC tournament into this this weekend? What's been the main point of emphasis from Bruce into what y'all need to do in order to kind of get your momentum rolling in the way I wanted to have a good run?
Urgency, and it's win or go home. I don't really think there needs to be a big message. We have like 8 to 10 seniors. I don't want to go out not to my expectations, and nobody else on the team would either. So, it's win or go home. If you're not willing to step up and play your best basketball now, then, why are you playing it?
Any other questions? Great, gentlemen. Thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
At this time, we want to welcome to Lexington Auburn coach Bruce Pearl. Appreciate your time, Coach. And if you would, please start us off with your opening comments as we approach tomorrow's game, and then we'll take questions from the media.
Well, let's start off by congratulating Alabama State on their victory last night. The state of Alabama is extremely well represented in this tournament. Basketball in the state of Alabama was really good this year, obviously led by Auburn and Alabama, UAB, Troy being in the tournament. Jacksonville State had a great year. North Alabama lost in the championship game. South Alabama probably could have, should have been in the NIT. And Alabama State, out of a terrific conference that is known for pulling off huge upsets. If you look at last year, Grambling, Prairie View, Texas Southern, always, pretty much every year, they've got a big upset. I'm so very, very happy for Tony and the job that he and his staff have done taking that Alabama State program. Of course, they're only 45 minutes down the road, and so we're very familiar with them. We played them last year, and they actually outplayed us in the second half. So we know that we've got our hands full with a really athletic, quick, deep, well-coached basketball team.
To media, please wait until you receive the microphone before asking your question, and please identify yourself and your media outlet before asking your question each time. Here in the second row on the left.
Hey, Coach, Trey Wallace with Outkick. Hope you're doing well. You just brought up the state of Alabama. Even Jacksonville State won last night in NIT. You talk about the different teams that are playing and competing, and you're going up against Alabama State. When you look at that as a whole and how that state continues to get better in college basketball, what does that say about the recruiting, about the fans of the state getting into the sport even further? And then the second part of my question, too, Richie Riley in South Alabama got kind of shafted a little bit when it comes to their invitation and having it rescinded. Just your thoughts on something like that and what you think.
I didn't hear the last part of your question, just a little bit about South Alabama. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, the question you asked is really how I started off my statement, just about we're from Auburn, Alabama, and we're playing a team from Montgomery, Alabama. And there were so many really good teams in college basketball from the state. Two of the top 5 or 6 teams in the country in Auburn and Alabama. And, UAB plays in their championship. North Alabama plays in their championship. Sanford was in the tournament a year ago. Troy's in it this year. It just, and obviously the list goes on. I think it's just a commitment from the universities. I think it is a statement about the quality of the coaches that are now in the state of Alabama. Alabama's always produced a tremendous number of great football players and baseball players and a lot of terrific athletes. And keep in mind, in the state of Alabama, we have no professional sports at all. And so the university system, the colleges, the universities, get a lot of attention, a lot of notoriety, and so therefore they get a lot of support.
Second row on the left here.
Bruce, Teresa Walker with the Associated Press. Janai said you all watched last night's game together. For a team that went 1-and-out last year, you're the number 1 overall seed. Watching that maybe be a very fresh reminder that when you're on the court, fates can change like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about our exit from the tournament last year in the 4-13 game against Yale. We talked about it this morning. Yale outplayed us. We shot 50% in the game. Typically, that's going to be good enough to win. We fouled them too much. We turned the ball over late, crucial moments, and we didn't make free throws at the end. And as a result, we lost the game. Anybody can have that one shining moment. We recognized, again, Alabama State outplayed us by 1 in the second half last year in Auburn, Alabama. So we recognize that we'll have to play well. I think we have to come into this. We're not coming into this tournament. We're looking at the overall number 1 seed in the rearview mirror. We worked hard for that overall number 1 seed to survive the SEC this year as regular season champions, to look at the non-conference and having beaten Houston at Houston, having won the Maui Invitational, lost in a close game at Duke, our only loss in non-conference, and to have beaten Purdue and Ohio State on neutral courts. We earned that through the regular season. But that's in the past right now. And we're 6 wins away from achieving what our real goal is, and that is to try to win the national championship. We recognize that at any stop, including tomorrow, we could lose. We're going to do everything we possibly can to not.
Let's go first to the fourth row on the right, please.
Tony Reese, WTVM. Coach, you kind of talked about it after Selection Sunday, just the historic year for the SEC, having 14 teams in, and we talk about having a number 1 overall seed, kind of blocking out all the outside noise. Really, what's been your message to the team this week? We know at any given moment things can change at the flip of a dime, going back to last year in Spokane, now going back here. Just kind of having success here in Rupp Arena already this season. How are you really hoping to push off that momentum?
We just would take it one game at a time, truly. And defense and rebounding are going to travel. There are going to be some nights we're going to shoot it really well, and some nights we're not going to shoot it well. What does Alabama do to score? How do they score? Understand that. Do the best job we can to prevent that. They're going to be hard to beat to 50-50 balls. They shoot a lot of threes. Their speed and their quickness are going to allow them to chase shots down. You have inside shots, you have inside rebounds. Size matters. Size doesn't matter when you're shooting more than half your shots from beyond the three-point line. And so they shoot them, they'll chase them down. So we got to beat our stance. We got to check, we got to chase those balls down and just do the things that we need to do to beat Alabama State. And offensively, just keep sharing the ball. We have the advantage on the inside, but they're going to come down and they're going to double team and they're going to strip and rip and they're going to be really, really handsy because they're really, really athletic. We got to do a good job protecting the ball. We turned the ball over 18 times last time when we played them. So we recognize that they have the ability to turn us over.
Second row on the right.
Hey, Bruce. Ben Baby with ESPN. 2 questions for you. Going back to Greg's early tenure as a commissioner, it seems like there was a lot of investment into basketball, men's basketball being better than it had been in previous years. Are we seeing maybe that this year being a byproduct of that, there being a higher emphasis across a lot of the institutions to make sure that the men's basketball programs could be better than they were before?
I think a number of things took place. First of all, Mike Slive called it out years ago when the SEC was not performing as well in men's basketball as all the other sports, men and women in the SEC. They say it just means more, and I believe that the SEC is the best conference in intercollegiate athletics. We've not been in men's basketball in a long, long time. What happened? Just a commitment. Mike Slive, Greg Sankey, hiring of some guys that are just focused on basketball. Garth Glissman right now is sort of our czar of basketball. And so there's a real emphasis there. I think the athletic directors have invested in great coaches and resources for their staffs. And I think the difference between the SEC this year and why there was such a great separation, top to bottom, there was commitment in the NIL and investing in our student athletes. If you look at many conferences, the teams that finished at the top of their conferences, let's just say Louisville and Duke, for example, in the ACC, those 2 programs have been consistently well supported. They got great history. So when it comes to the NIL, they're going to be invested. Not everybody in the ACC invested like those 2 schools. In the SEC, the teams that finished at the bottom were almost as invested as the teams in the top. And as a result, you got 16 teams that are really playing hard, that are really talented, that are really deep and well coached. And then we went into non-conference and we demonstrated that with our record and our record against pretty much every conference, maybe the Big Ten, we didn't have much of an advantage over, but other than that, we separated ourselves.
Second row on the left.
Bruce, with how close you all are to Alabama State, I mean, I'm from Nashville where there's a ton of colleges there. Is there any meeting with each other, running ideas by each other, or collaboration between the programs? I mean, that's a SWAC program, and you're obviously SEC. Resources are a little different.
Well, I'd say this. I think that, first of all, Tony Matlock was an assistant at Auburn for 4 years. He was an assistant at Memphis. I think one of the things that he has done, and many coaches have done this in the SWAC. Coach at Texas Southern had come from LSU, and many of those coaches have been at the high major level. They have the same high major expectations for their student athletes that I have for mine. Try to hold them to the same standards. Try to develop the same level of staff. They don't have the resources that we have, but their expectations for how they train and how they coach and how they treat their players. Look at the schedule that Alabama State plays in a non-conference. They play a high major schedule. They played Missouri and LSU out of our league this year. Last year they played USC. They played a number of high major teams. Auburn. And so there's a level of familiarity. I would say that the advantage that Alabama State would have in this sense is that they're not going to be intimidated by Auburn. They played against us. Their kids know our kids. They played against each other, some of them in high school. And whereas if we had played another team that really didn't know much about us or whatever from another part of the country, we're playing the number one team seeded out. Don't worry about Alabama State. They ain't afraid of us.
Here on the left, second row.
Trey Wallace with Alkit. Coach, this team seems like they've been able to turn the page from game to game this year, especially with the grueling part of the SEC, even the non-conference before. Is there something about this team that makes past years different? I know each team is different. I get that part. Yeah. But it just seems like you've been able to hit the reset button every single night in conference play leading up to this.
Yeah, we absolutely grinded, and we did. We turned the page, and we got ready to play. And we were excited about playing every night. I think the difference between this year's team and others is this year's team, I've never had a team that has been battle-tested like this team with 16 quad one wins. If we've had we've played 23 games, 23 of our 33 games are against teams that are in this tournament. And so we have found ways to win. And we found a couple ways to lose too, but mostly. So I think we feel really prepared. And, we know that, again, we've played the top seeds. We beat Houston, their number one seed. We lost at Duke in a close game, their number one seed. We lost to Florida, who is playing as well as anybody in the country as number one seed. So in other words, we've played all the number ones. We've beaten Alabama, they're number two. We beat Tennessee once, they're number two. So we're good enough we belong. Our goals this year might be a little higher because of that. Like, I'd like to win the South region and get to the Final Four. I mean, that's what the number one seed should do. And is it going to be easy? No. Alabama State's not going to be easy. Louisville or Creighton aren't going to be easy. The fours and fives and the twos and threes in this region aren't going to be easy. We recognize that, but that's what our goal is, and we're good enough to accomplish it.
We have about 2 more minutes with Coach. Question in the back row on the right.
Coach, as far as the connectivity on this team, it seems superior. How much of more offense are you going to try to maybe push, off rebounds and maybe off turnovers?
I mean, I think the connectivity has to do with the fact that these guys really care about each other. They like each other. They respect each other. They've made sacrifices for one another at every position because let's say we're playing 9 guys, double-digit minutes. You got to share the ball more. And I think we've all done a great job of we know our roles. We know our strengths. We know our weaknesses. And the guys have played to them almost all year. And the biggest thing that we've got to do is we've got to defend and rebound. Defense and rebounding every night, every possession will carry you through this tournament. You have to bring that. At the same time, my teams that have advanced in postseason play shot it pretty well, got hot. You think about that Final Four run. We made a bunch of threes against Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky. We're going to have to do the same thing here if we're going to advance.
Last question here.
Bruce, these 2 games you've lost to Tennessee and Alabama, strange things happen. You could have won almost as easily as you lost. Is this team really much different right now than it was the last time y'all were here?
Well, I think this team is much better than last year's team. I mean, so since we left Lexington 3 weeks ago, where we won the regular season championship, we've lost 3 out of our last 4 games. At Texas A&M, who's a 4 seed, Alabama at home at the buzzer, who's a 2 seed, and then to Tennessee and the SEC tournament in Nashville, in a, pretty much close to a last possession type game. So I think when you're playing teams of that caliber, you got to make shots, you got to make free throws, you got to make layups, you got to do simple plays. We didn't do some of those things in those losses. I don't think it affects our confidence. I think that we're prepared, but that stuff, even if we'd won all those games, it doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything tomorrow at 2:50. This team's prepared. This team is confident.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Media is reminded Hammond Communications